Can you believe we just watched the 150th episode of Once Upon a Time? That is absolutely amazing to me. And this was Lana Parrilla's directorial debut, and it was a very good episode. Lana did an amazing job with directing. She did really good action sequences, particularly when Zelina and Nick were fighting. I really liked that. Now, in my trailer review, I had said this episode is probably going to be one of the best of Season 7, which I think it definitely is, but it might have some of the Season 7 flaws, but the flaws are more so due to the writing, not due to the directing at all. In fact, one thing I want to say with the directing that I really liked is every scene seemed to have a purpose, which I really loved, and the scenes were not slow. One problem, particularly with like episode 3 of Season 7, was they would get into a scene and they would be in it for an exaggerated amount of time. And you're like, what's going on? Like, this needs to be, moving a bit faster. And there was really no problem with any scene in that regard. So overall, like, Lana Parrilla as a director, she's really good. So I hope that she can direct more episodes of more shows that she's in. Maybe one day she'll get to direct a feature film. Jennifer Morrison got to direct Sundogs. It's on Netflix. It's very good. It's very different from Once Upon a Time. Melissa Benoist, who plays Supergirl's in it. Allison Janney, who just won an Oscar, is in it. It's a real good movie. I advise it. I imagine that Lana might get a directing debut like that for a feature film. So let's talk about the show. And I have notes to discuss both the flashback and the present day. I'm going to talk about the flashback first. So if you see me, divoting away from the camera, it's because I want to make sure I hit every point. So there's another alternate version of the Blind Witch / Candy Witch. And I gotta say, and I know at this point it's irrelevant, I'm really over all the alternate versions of original characters. It's just too much, but whatever. That's, again, one of the problems with the episode, is there's too many versions of original characters. And I'm like, no. So apparently this blind witch, or she's not blind yet, she becomes blind, we'll talk about that in a minute. Apparently this witch lives in Oz, and there's an alternate version of Hansel and Gretel in Oz. The Candy Witch abducts them, and Zelina is mad that there's another witch in Oz, and she goes to fight them. She goes to fight the Candy Witch, and the Candy Witch gets the upper hand and defeats Zelina. I'm like, hold on, your canon is so all over the place Once Upon a Time. Zelina is supposed to be this big bad witch, yet she loses to a witch who wants to eat children, and Zelina, her magic seemed to get, like, nullified. I was like, what's happening here? Like, this is a little odd, but, like, whatever. I get, why it has to happen for the sake of the plot, so I accepted it. But, Zelina was able to take out Glinda, who was supposed to be a really powerful witch, yet she lost to, I don't know, the Candy Witch. For some reason, the Candy Witch always gave off the vibe of, lower tier witch, so it really shocked me that she would take out Zelina so simply. So Zelina gets really hurt, and, she ends up meeting Hansel and Gretel's father, but she doesn't, know that until he starts to talk to her. And he takes care of her, and there's a couple really nice interactions with Zelina and Hansel and Gretel's dad. I really liked it. Zelina, one thing she wants to do or have is acceptance. And, she always seems to get it, but then something always comes up that takes it away from her. And, of course, something came up. She felt love for Hansel and Gretel's father. And it wasn't, a romantic love. It was just, a familial love. And I really did love that. I love the chemistry between just Rebecca Mader and the actor who played Hansel and Gretel's dad. I really liked that. So, Zelina's like, all right, this guy's taking care of me. I'm going to go get his kids. She was also really hurt. Her magic seemed to be nullified for a little while. She couldn't go defeat the Candy Witch, so she had to wait. And she couldn't tell him who she was right away because he would kick her out. She was hoping that if she did a good favor for him, he'd forgive her or let bygones be bygones and everything would be all right. And, I kind of hoped that would happen. I knew it wouldn't happen because this flashback really made sense to drive Zelina's character, particularly in Season 3. So Zelina decides to go take on the Candy Witch, and she steals her sight, and then the Candy Witch then becomes the Blind Witch. Now we have two blind witches who want to eat children and have a past with Hansel and Gretel. Zelina then goes to free Hansel and Gretel. They're gone. They go back to the cabin, and they tell their father everything and how Zelina didn't free them at first. But Zelina, when she went to defeat the Blind Witch or the Candy Witch originally, why would she want to free Hansel and Gretel? She's wicked. She's an evil witch. It's not in her nature to protect the innocent. So it makes sense that she wouldn't do it. But then as she realizes maybe she should, take care of other people and help the innocent, let's maybe forgive the past actions and let everything work out. And that's not what happened. Hansel and Gretel essentially chastise her. The father chastises Zelina, and you just see in Rebecca Maida's face how mortified she is at these people who she thought she was going to do a good favor for, and who she liked. She liked Hansel and Gretel's dad. How they completely just disowned her, and I was like, oh my god, this scene is intense. So I really did love that. There was very, really the acting honestly was just really, really good. The emotions were there. And then, Zelina, because she's mad, when you're mad, you do things you don't necessarily mean. And she destroys the potion to give Hansel and Gretel's dad his sight back. And Hansel, in response, yells at her more. And Zelina's she can't handle it, so she burns him. And that's really why Nick / Hansel / Jack is out for revenge against her because of what he did in the past. Now, he's not out to get Zelina because of Gretel, because Gretel's death was due to Gothel. He mentions that at the end of the episode. But Zelina did hurt him, and he's out to get her because of that. So I like the flashback. I thought the flashback was really well constructed, minus the, alternate versions of original characters. I was totally fine with the flashback. I love the character development. I love the action sequences. I mean, even in the beginning, there was an action sequence right away, which I liked. It's good to start off a movie or a TV show with an action sequence. It pulls you into it. So let's talk about the present day. And we have quite a bit to discuss about the present day as well. So first off, I'm very happy that Regina was in this episode. In my trailer review, I had said that Lana Parrilla might be in 1 or 2 scenes or not in the episode at all. So, she was in the former, which is great. I'm glad that she was in a couple of scenes with Zelina. And I'm really glad that Lana was able to pull off the duties of actor and director. It's very tough to do multiple roles like that. So I was really happy that she was in several scenes. Her character didn't do too much. She was really there to work with Kelly / Selena. But I liked it. I was just happy she was there. So I gotta say, in the scenes where we talk to Hansel and Henry, I understand Hansel's motives. I really thought Nathan Parsons got into the role of Hansel. I thought he was really good in all of his scenes. But I really wish we saw more of Henry's past with Hansel / Nick, because I want to see this friendship. They were supposed to be friends, and I never got it. And I thought there was an opportunity to see a past. I mean, if they decided to do this witch killing thing, in a potential season 8, which obviously isn't happening, it would have been nice to see, a friendship with Hansel or Nick and Henry, in a couple of these episodes. I think that would have been really nice because they're supposed to be BFFs, and that's not what happens here. But I really did love all the interactions with Nick and Henry. I really like that. I like how Henry is trying to not trick him, but make Hansel feel accepted, and and Hansel's kind of believing it because he's a little crazy. You got to be honest, he's a little crazy, and Henry's like, dude, you're nuts, and Hansel's like, no, I'm not. Your mom's a witch, your aunt's a witch. They're evil. I gotta stop them. So I like that. And then there was a B storyline to this episode with Facilier and Drew, or Sandy and Drew. I really like the B storyline as well. Every storyline, there was the B storyline with Sandy and Drew, and the Nick versus Selena storyline, as well as the flashback. And I thought all of them were really well done. And, the B storyline really paid off at the end of the episode. So, Zelina is mortified that she's going to be a victim of the candy killer. And she goes to Rumple, and there's some really nice bits of banter, with Rumple and Zelina. I really did like that. And Zelina is essentially trying to prepare to stop Nick from killing her. Roger's more or less figured out how, or who the candy killer is, and he tells Jacinda because he sees the how to build a gingerbread house in Jacinda's car. So, Roger's figured it out. He goes to find Henry, and, then the episode kind of plays out where we see that final sequence between Zelina and Nick, and they fight. Kip Perdue plays Zelina's husband, and the only reason why I'm bringing it up now is he was in the episode for all of maybe 3 minutes, and, Nick knocks out Henry before Rogers finds him. And, Nick knocks Henry out and then goes to find Zelina's husband. And then Nick calls Zelina and says, I got your husband. You know, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill him. And I got to say, I never really felt that any character was in true danger here. And also, I'm going to just note this. Jacinda and Sabine were in this episode. Their roles were completely useless. I mean, their scenes made sense, but they could have been filled by any other character. It was just, they were completely irrelevant, which is sad. Also, same thing applies, sadly, to Allison Fernandez. So, Zelina, decides to not tell Ronnie where she's going. And then she ends up fighting Nick, actually in Ronnie's bar, which I thought was hilarious. And she has the opportunity to kill him, and she doesn't. So I like that Zelina chose to be good. Zelina and Rumple talked about, their past and how their past can come back to bite them and how they can't, forget who their past lives are, what their past has done. And I really did enjoy that. And like I said, Zelina had the opportunity to kill Nick. She chose not to. She chose to be good. She was upfront with Chad after Nick was arrested, and Chad chose to be with her. So I really did like everything I saw there. Now, the end of it, I got a couple things I want to say about that. So Margot comes back, and Margot's like in this episode periodically, and like I'm not over Tierra Scobie as Margot, but I'm like, whatever. Robin, Alice, like I get the relationship, it's there, it's fine, whatever. It's like it's just there. The show is super character heavy that I don't have time to be vested in more than like 4 or 5 characters at this point. I just don't mentally have the capacity to do it. With Once Upon a Time, there's like so many characters, and I already attached to old ones, and I don't want to get attached to too many new ones. Plus, the one new character I like the best, Rosella, is gone. So, Margot comes back, and she's like, "Mom, what's going on?" She's like, and Margot and Kelly goes, "Oh, a lot, but we'll tell you at the wedding, or once the curse is broken." So, Kelly, decides to leave Hyperion Heights with Chad. And I was like, what? What is happening? Why is Kelly leaving? She needs to help break the curse. In the beginning of the episode, Regina said she got the ingredient to fix Henry's heart. So now if they break the curse, nothing bad will happen, which is great. But don't you want Zelina there to help with this War of the Witches and help deal with the the Shadow Man? Like, that would be helpful. They hyped up Zelina to come back. I believe it was episode 10 of 7 when she came back after being absent for 10 episodes. And I gotta say, I felt the absence of Zelina. And I also just am a fan of Rebecca Mader and Zelina, the character. And now they hyped her back. And then she was in, she was in 7, she was in 10, 11. I think she wasn't in like maybe 2 episodes after 7B started. And I'm like, come on, like, let's have her in all of them. It would just make sense, but she'll be in the finale at some point, which is good. So, Zelina leaves. And I got to say, from a marketing standpoint, I think that's stupid. I think Rebecca Mader is one of the highest draws of 7, even though it's ending. I think knowing that she's there adds a lot of familiarity to the show. And it also just gives you the sense that the actors are really good. However, speaking of good actors, Dylan Francis, who plays Dr. Slier, fantastic. And I think a lot of us will be very engaged to see him next week, and we'll talk about him in the trailer review. So, Zelina is leaving, and Regina is going to try to wake up Henry, and that's kind of where we left off with those characters. Margot wants to stay in Hyperion Heights to, hook up with Alice, who wasn't in the episode. We'll talk about who wasn't there in a minute. And at the end of the episode, Nathan Parsons' Nick is in jail, and Facilier comes. He's like, "I woke you up," Facilier says to Nick, and Nick is like, "Why would you do that?" And Facilier kind of explains his perspectives, but it felt really rushed, and then he kills him. And then now Nick is gone, and now one of our 3 villains is gone. We know that Facilier is after the dagger, just like Gothel, so that's interesting. We're going to probably see more of that next week. Again, we'll talk about Facilier's goals in the trailer review. And then the episode was done. So now this episode didn't include Tilly or Gothel, which I think is really foolish. I really like Gothel as a villain. I think Emma Booth, when she plays Gothel and she gets the take correct, is very good in the role. I would have liked to have seen more, because all we know is, and I had to, like I said, rewatch episode 15 twice to realize what her goal is. She's after the Dark One dagger. So I would have liked to have seen her in some capacity. Maybe Nick could have gone after her, because Nick did say that Gothel was his end game. which is also good to know that some character has an end game, because we don't know what the end game of, well, I guess we do know the end game of Celia and Gotham, but we haven't really seen it come out or what they want to do with the Dark One magic. Tilly was in the episode, but I can live without Rose Reynolds. I also have to say, minus the purpose of Tiana being a plot device or Sabine being a plot device, I really felt that her character was just completely useless, and the same honestly applied to Jacinda. So that's like the problems with the episode. It's like, you don't have your other villain who's supposed to be your main villain. Tilly, who's, you know, supposed to be a big deal, isn't around, but next week that'll be rectified. And then, you know, sadly with Jacinda and Sabine, it feels a little bit like tokenism, but it's like, whatever. Sam D is absolutely amazing, and he has a real purpose to the show. And we'll talk about Sam D in the trailer review at length. So, this episode, directed by Lana Parrilla, the 150th episode of the show. Fantastic. This review is over 16 minutes long because there was so much to discuss, because it was so well done, and I enjoyed everything that I saw. And I'm curious what you guys have to say about the episode in the comments below. So, thank you all for watching my review of the episode. It's an A+ for me, one of my favorites. I'm looking forward to seeing Rebecca Mader come back in around episode 21, I would wager, or 22. My guess is 22. I don't think she's going to be in 21 because 21 has so many other recurring characters returning. So anyway, share your thoughts about the comments below. What do you think is going to happen next week? We'll talk about that in the trailer review as well. But this episode, you know, it does connect all the plot lines of Seven, which I really liked as well. It didn't feel useless. It moved the plot forward, and that's another thing it had going for it. So share your thoughts in the episode in the comments below. Trailer review is coming very soon. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.